This parish was established 105 years ago by immigrants from Poland for the most part.
And the people were just so determined to have their own parish.
The costs of the first church to them were astronomical. The pastor told the people, we'll have to ask you to dig deep.
Father Krakowski, who was the pastor at the time, went from house to house literally collecting nickels and dimes and pennies from people just to keep the construction going.
Stop and think about it. This parish was paid off by the people who had just pennies in their pocket. And that's the kind of faith really that you see here.
They wanted to have their own parish church, reminiscent in some ways of the parish churches back home, but also something that would denote something a little bit unique, newer for this area. It was modeled after St. Paul outside the walls in Rome, a huge coffered ceiling, pillars on the side, that they wanted something of grandeur. It's perhaps a word that we don't hear a whole lot when it comes to ecclesiastical architecture today.
Sacred Heart is one of the most beautiful churches in the Grand Rapids Diocese. The very structure of this church bespeaks the great Catholic tradition.
We happen to live close to several modern churches. They just don't kind of take my breath away like Sacred Heart does, where I come in and I'm like, wow, now I'm in church. Now I feel like I've made that transition from the world into the spiritual.
It's something that is part of our common spiritual life. It's fundamental to our common spiritual life.
It is meant to be a touchstone to eternity.
Over the course of the past several years, the Finance Committee, along with Father Ed, have done the investigation through engineering companies to determine exactly what Sacred Heart has needed and have put in place a long-term plan. We have a hill to climb. We have a facility that is in dire need of repair. We're not talking about cosmetic things here. We're talking about substantial structural fixes to our parish to allow it to continue to operate. Without the repairs that are facing us, this parish will not be able to continue to operate. It won't be safe.
This building can only stand so long. It may stand for this generation, but in the next, generation, if we do nothing, may find a building beyond repair.
One of our first responsibilities will be to do some major repair on our towers, the ceiling, and on the roof, to get underneath all the bricks to see if there's any structural damage. We hope there is not, of course.
While we're looking at things that range everywhere from working on the towers to new heating facilities, we're prioritizing everything. The things that must be done immediately are part of this phase one. And as we move forward with executing the following phases, we will be putting Sacred Heart onto a track for the sustained growth for the next 100 years.
And with this campaign, we desire to not only to fix the ceiling and fix the towers, but also in a sense, be renewed in our own faith commitment.
Our faith depends on this church building, and we need to put our heart and soul into it.
That's really what this is about, to renew the church, but really to renew the believers in the church.
So now is the time for us to rekindle the faith and say, what's now our responsibility?
It is all of our responsibilities to put forth as much as possible, to give as much as possible of our time and effort, especially at times when it seems like there's really no more to give or efforts seem futile. It is important to continue to give if we want to see this parish around in the future.
I think it's important not only as a parishioner but as a father to help grow the parish, to be a part of making it become what it is and helping to keep it what it is, both in terms of the great things that we have, but also to help it to move forward and to become something even greater.
Whatever it takes is worth it, because this is our legacy for the future.
Do we want our children to be able to have a place to worship and to get married and to baptize their children and to receive the sacraments and thus get their souls to heaven?
The decision is up to us. Do we want Sacred Heart to continue? Yes or no? For me, I'd like to see Sacred Heart continue.
So this parish has to love its neighbors by taking care of this emblem of its faith, the church.
The people that built this parish were not rich people. They were miners at the plaster mines, very menial jobs. They didn't have the money, but look what they built. How can we let it go?
When I think back to the founding fathers of the parish, I realize that they're probably in the same boat that we're in now. The money they needed to raise was probably a phenomenal amount to them. And as we look at this campaign and we think about $2.1 million, it's probably mind-blowing to most people. I know it is to me. But we have to do it. And if we just have faith in God and give what we can, I think God will take care of the rest.
This is not a matter of money. It's a matter of, do I believe that what God has given me is mine or it's His?
It's our time to step up. It's our time to help each other out. It's our time to help this parish out. It's not going to be 5 people that can do it. It's going to take the entire parish to do this.
And we're asking sacrifice from all of us, but we're in this together. We're not just going to rely upon a few people who may have deep pockets to help us do this work, and someone else has to do it. No, it's our work. It's our parish.
That responsibility as the present generation is a moral responsibility. It entails a spiritual responsibility to pass on those things which are the medium of graces, of God's graces in the church. And it is a sinful shame if we renege on that responsibility, which we take on when we vow ourselves Catholic through our baptismal vows, whether we are aware of it or not. Situations like the one that Sacred Heart is in now remind us of that responsibility and of those solemn vows we took. Let us not forsake a solemn responsibility.
Please join us.
Please join us.
Please join us as we renew our legacy of faith.
Please join us.
Please join us.
Please join us as we renew our legacy of faith.
Please join us.
Please join us.
Please join us.
Please join with us as we renew our legacy of faith.